Hello everyone, it's Grandpa Hickory. Welcome to my video. The death of Stringbean, Grand Ole Opry's one of their stars that they had that was really on the up and up. Grandpa Hickory loved Stringbean, and I was very interested in Mr. Stringbean. He's a funny fella. He played the banjo, and he stood, I think, about 6 foot, 6'1", somewhere around there. And he had pants that were right here with a buckle on it and everything, a belt. And he looked so funny, but he was a wonderful guy, and he would sing. But let me tell you a little bit about Stringbean. Now, they lived in Tennessee. And Stringbean and his wife, they would get together and they would go hunting together in the woods. They had a real nice little homestead. They had a fireplace. And they would go out in the woods and they hunted for squirrel and rabbit. And see, that's what I like. That's what I want to do. I'm trying to get me a homestead if I can ever find me a place, but prices are so high right now, I can't do it. I was going to get me some acreage and build a tough shed from Home Depot and finish it out and have me a place living off grid. That's what I want to do. But anyway, they were already out there in the country. They had a wonderful time. And Stringbean and his wife, they would go into Nashville to the Grand Ole Opry. And he would be on there and he'd play his guitar and he would sing and talk. And listen, he was a wonderful man. He was just wonderful. Well, let me tell you something. There were 2 boys, never had a job. They were lowlifes. They went around breaking in people's houses, and they would go in shopping centers and break in people's cars, and they were thieves, and they literally were white trash. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'm just trying to let you know. Well, these 2 boys, they went out to Stringbean's place out in the woods. And of course, Stringbean didn't lock the door. You know, back then, none of us locked our doors. We didn't have to. I mean, you know. And we all had locks on our doors, but it was a skeleton key. And one skeleton key fit everybody's locks. But they went inside and they turned on Stringbean's television. And they watched the Grand Ole Opry, and Stringbean was up there. And he was playing the guitar. I mean, not the guitar, but the banjo. And he was singing. And one of the brothers, he was filled with jealousy. Well, they looked all through there. They got food out of the refrigerator. They sat there eating it. They went all through their personal belongings, pulled them all out of the drawers. They dumped drawers on the floor and everything else. Well, the door to the front door was ajar. It was about this wide. I'm talking about, you know, how a door is like this. Well, this door was swung open about right here. So there was about a gap like this. Well, let me tell you something. Those boys sitting there watching Stringbean on the Grand Ole Opry. Well, Stringbean and his wife, they finished up. They went and got something to eat. Then they left Nashville. And they come driving home, and it was dark. It was nighttime, and they pulled up their long driveway leading up to their little homestead. Well, when they did, Stringbean said, "The door's open." So he stopped the car. Here's where the mistakes start. Did you hear what I'm saying? Stay with me through this video, and you'll understand. I'm inviting you to subscribe to my channel. Please hit the like button. It helps my channel to grow. But I want to tell you something. Here's where the trouble started. Stringbean jumped out of his car, opened his trunk, and he got his squirrel rifle, which was a .22 long rifle. And he had 22 hard-nosed bullets. I think there was like 16 of them. I don't know how many. I don't know. But they were in the magazine. And he jumped out of the car, and he went up there to the house and went up on the porch. Well, he walked inside. What did his wife do? She jumped out of the car on the other side and threw her purse over her shoulder, and she come up there looking like this. Well, Stringbean, he shoved the door open. He stepped inside, and both boys were sitting there. One was behind the door, and he hit the rifle like that. Well, when he did, Stringbean had his hand on the trigger. He pulled the trigger. Well, the bullet hit the floor and ricocheted and went up into the ceiling. Well, the boy jumped out behind the door and grabbed the rifle. Now, this was the one that was watching Grand Ole Opry. He was watching Stringbean, and he literally hated Stringbean. He was jealous of him, envious of him. Well, what he did next is he took the gun and turned it around, and he shot Stringbean in the head. And, of course, Stringbean fell dead on the floor right in front of his fireplace. Well, then he heard his wife outside saying, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" Well, he jerked the door open. He ran outside, and she saw him. She turned around, and she started running. Well, he jumped out there, and he followed her out on the driveway. He ran along. He raised the rifle up, and he shot. When he did, he hit her in her shoulder, and it knocked her to the ground. Well, then he ran out there, and he shot her point blank in the head, and he killed her. So he killed Stringbean and his wife. Now, those boys were sentenced to, I think, 45 years in the prison. They were brothers. One brother died in prison. The other one, I don't know what's the matter with the parole people up there in Tennessee. I don't know what, I guess, well, I think they were liberal Democrats, but they let him off parole. And you know what he did? He went, did different things, and he bought him a little pickup, a used pickup. He drove out to Stringbean's property, and he got out of that pickup, and he walked around. I think he had already served 20, 22 years, something like that, in prison. And he walked around. The door, of course, is open on the homestead there. He just opened the door and walked inside. There was the fireplace and everything. They still had the furniture, and it just like it was when Stringbean and his wife was alive. And he walked around in there, and he sat down in the recliner in there in the living room by the fireplace. Then he got up. He walked on outside on the porch. He sat down on the porch looking around, remembering that night. Then he got up and walked out there to where he had murdered Stringbean's wife. Then he went and got in his pickup, and he sat out there in his driver drinking his beer. He had beer. And then he drove off. Now, there were several people that gave the account of this happening. That's why that I can talk about it. But let me tell you something. Here's what should have happened. Those two boys should have been the one that had been killed, not Stringbean and his wife. You say, what do you mean, Grandpa Hickory? Listen to me. Stay with me to the end of the video. Now let me explain to you what should have happened. When Stringbean and his wife pulled up, and he saw with his headlights that that door was half open, he should have jumped out, like he did, got his rifle, and told his wife immediately, "Get out of here. Get in the car, drive quick, and call the sheriff, and call Grandpa Jones," which was his hunting buddy. Grandpa Jones was on the Grand Ole Opry also, and they were very close friends. They rabbit hunted, they fished together, they squirrel hunted together. They spent a lot of time together. And that's what he should have done. And then he should have went where he could, on the side of the house, which was open, out far away from the house, and he could watch the front door and the back door. And all he had to do was sit there and wait until the sheriff pulled up with Grandpa Jones and his wife and maybe 2 or 3 different local police cars. And they could have come in, and if the boys ran out, Stringbean would have killed them. If they ran out the front door, the police would have killed them, the sheriff. But no, that did not happen. People, that's what I would have done Is that what you would have done? Put it in the comments below. Just let me know. But let me tell you something. Stringbean was a wonderful person. He's just like me. I mean, I love to hunt. I love to fish. I love squirrel. I love rabbit. And I want a homestead in the country. And you know that him and his wife were peaceful people. And they were murdered in a very brutal murder. And what bothers me is the Democrat people on the parole board in Tennessee under the Biden administration, the Democrats administrations released these criminals. And he was one of the ones that got out, the one that had murdered Stringbean and his wife in cold-blooded murder. Now let me ask you a question. How can that person go through life knowing what he had done? And then when he comes to his dying days, know that he's got to give an account to an angry God. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. It's sad about Stringbean and his wife. It's a very tragic thing that happened in Tennessee. See you on the next video.